Talking about the Middle East is talking about chaos and destruction. But trust me, it hasn't always been like that.
Come and enjoy Lebanon. This paradise is waiting for you with open arms.
Lebanon, once known as the Paris of the East. Majestic beaches, incredible mountains, and a booming economy. A place where the whole Middle East came to relax. But then they decided that all of that was too boring, because life is very simple, but we always try to spice it up and make it complicated. Today we're going to talk about the decline of Lebanon, how it went from being one of the leading countries in the Middle East to a total chaos. But first, a bit of context. Lebanon is like that typical friend who tries to get everyone to get along at the disco, but ends up in a fist fight, cause putting very different people in a very small place usually ends badly. And in the Middle East, everyone has a strong personality. Let's take a clear and concise look at the key points to understand how Lebanon went from what it was to what it is today. In the 1960s, Lebanon was on fire, but not like it is now. It was a center of trade, finance, and high society. Like if Paris and Monaco had a child, Lebanon had a strategic location, a strong financial sector, and liberal policies both economically and socially. Between the end of World War I, after the fall of the Ottoman Empire, and the end of World War II, Lebanon was under French mandate, receiving strong influences from the European country. After its independence, Lebanon adopted a confessional system of government, where power was divided among their main religious groups. During the 1950s and 60s, Beirut, the capital, became a cultural and financial hub of the Middle East. However, sectarian tension and foreign influences, especially due to the presence of Palestinian refugees and Arab-Israeli conflicts, began to create divisions. It's well known that this part of the world is a religious hotspot, and this goes beyond Jews, Muslims, and Christians, believe me. The cultural and religious reality of Lebanon has changed a lot over the decades. To give you an idea, it was a Christian majority country during its prosperous time, but as I mentioned, it was a diverse country, and this diversity was one of the main reasons for conflict after independence. The Lebanese confessional political system distributed the main government positions among their religious communities. However, the Muslim communities continued to grow, especially the Shia branch, and of course they demanded more power within the Lebanese political and social structure. These Muslims lived in rural areas and suffered from inequalities in a country that, although prosperous, was far from perfect. This created tensions with Christians, Sunni Muslims, who are the majority of Muslims in the world, Druze, and other religious groups. But if there's one thing that stirred up the political map of the Levant, it was undoubtedly the creation of the State of Israel in 1948, the consequences of which are still felt today. After the Arab-Israeli War between 1948 and 1949, 700,000 Palestinians were forced to leave their homes in what was known as the Nakba, or catastrophe. Most fled to Jordan, though around 100,000 relocated in Lebanon, where they suffered from marginalization. In 1967, after the Six-Day War, which again involved Israelis and Palestinians, nearly 400,000 Palestinians took refuge in neighboring countries, most of them once again in Jordan. In 1970, many Palestinians fled from Jordan to Lebanon after Black September, a conflict that involved Jordan against the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization. The PLO was expelled from Jordan and moved to Lebanon, further increasing the tensions that were already there. The country became extremely polarized. Generally, Muslims supported the Palestinian cause, but Christians distrusted it. seeing it as a potential threat to their country and their families. Christian militias were created, and this, combined with Arab radicals and religious sects, was a perfect breeding ground for an armed conflict. A war that lasted 15 years, between 1975 and 1990. Let's also remember that Syria, Israel, and of course Western powers had a clear influence on the development of this conflict. In the end, it was Christians versus Muslims, and after Israel's intervention, Jews versus Muslims as well. Between 120,000 and 150,000 people lost their lives, and the country never returned to what it once was. While Christians were the majority in the country at that time, now Muslims are, due to a much higher fertility rate. Many Christians also left Lebanon during the war, and of course the massive arrival of Sunni Palestinian Muslims caused the number of Muslims in Lebanon to obviously rise. After the conflict, Lebanon had strong influences from Syria and Iran, in a country that was unstable and corrupt. Iran is the patron of Hezbollah, the paramilitary group that has recently been making headlines for its clashes with Israel. Hezbollah emerged during the Lebanese civil war as a response to Israel's occupation of the south of the country. It is a Shia militia funded by Iran, and its main objective is to destroy the Zionist state. And let's not forget they have parliamentary representation and a lot of power.
This is a message to the people of Lebanon.
Since 2024, the conflict between Hezbollah and Israel has significantly intensified. Since October 1st, Israel has carried out military operations in southern Lebanon, including airstrikes targeting Hezbollah leaders. In response, the militia has intensified its rocket attacks on Israel, affecting deeper areas of the country. The situation has raised international concern, with European Union leaders calling for an urgent ceasefire in order to facilitate humanitarian aid. Oh, and this conflict involves the mighty Iran as well. And now, what will it happen? I'm no fortune teller, so let's give it time. Any prediction I make will surely turn out wrong, so I'd rather not say anything. Oh, and let's not forget the Beirut port explosion in 2020, which destroyed part of the capital city and certainly didn't help the economy. Storing tons of ammonium nitrate without safety measures sounds like a good idea, right? This could be the final scene of a bad superhero movie, but in Lebanon it's just another day. And now, after decades of political looting and corruption, the currency is worth less than their promises, and power cuts are so frequent that Lebanon could easily be a department of Venezuela.
So, in short, why did Lebanon go from being the paradise of the East to a total chaos? Easy. Religious tension, international interference, political corruption, and why not? Occasional explosions?
There are really many more factors, but these are the main ones. The Middle East is very complicated to understand, but I want us all to at least have a basic idea of what's happening in the country of the cedars. And this type of countries always leave us with a moral. If you ever think your life is a disaster, keep in mind that it could be worse. See you soon.